Micheal, welcome to the channel, and today we're going to be looking at something a little bit different by way of Jada Toys and their, not micro, but nano Metalfigs of G1 Transformers. There's a set of 18, and my box looks like this. To be fair, I'm sorry if there's glare there. Try my best for you. To be fair, there's actually two versions of this. A vertical version where they're put in like this, and I've also seen a horizontal version. I don't understand what the difference is. I assume it has to do with the two kind of cutouts of displays. We'll see kind of what is in here. If there's anything that sort of justifies why it would have to be packaged this way, I really don't know. But the 18 nano minifigs and the couple of display bases and the use or lack thereof of this set, that's going to be our focus this time around in the latest GotBot True review. Hey Micheal, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, man, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe. And while you're at it, lot of my baby, hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. I'm not going to really waste time here. It's a hefty box. I want to give a big shout out to Grimlock Gone for sending this my way. They are static, they don't move. However, they could definitely be useful when it comes to some stop motion stuff. Let's see what's in here. Let's see kind of how they match up, stack up next to kind of some of their full grown counterparts, if you will. Let's head over to the table and take a closer look at these guys. And something a little different this time around, courtesy of our buddy Grimlock Gone. And this is the Jada Transformers Nano Metalfigs. Now, they're all diecast. This is actually a very heavy box, surprisingly. And it is the robot mode forms of 18 different Transformers. I believe this is like their wave one, like their first release, so to speak. They're really more statues than anything else. Great for display, I suppose. Functionality, obviously they're not really going to have that, but they do certainly have a place in the collection, much like the world's smallest nano figurines, and there's a third-party company doing some, but there's a place for these too. Now, there's actually two boxes for this. This one that's vertical, and there's a horizontal one that I've seen that feels lighter for some weird reason, though I don't know why it would. The only discernible difference that I can see with both boxes is that this one has on the back a couple of scenes that you can cut out. They're still small because you can see that behind the Metalfigs, if we were to cut them out, and you just cut them out from here on the box, if we were to cut them out, you can see like they're still a little bit short behind these guys, so I don't know if I'm going to bother to cut them out or not. I guess time will tell. We will see. But yeah, so that's about it for what we have here with the packaging. It's very minimal. We're going to get our boys out. So we're going to start with the Autobots first because, well, there's more of them. There's 18 in total in the set. We have Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, Wheeljack, Sunstreaker, Cliffjumper, Sideswipe, Prowl, Ironhide, Jazz, Hot Rod, not Rodimus Prime, it's actually on the box as Hot Rod, Arcee, and Ultra Magnus. We'll kind of take a closer look at each of these guys. Please note that we're not going to be doing our normal scoring like we do, because these guys don't transform, these guys don't articulate, so it's a 0 and a 0, right? The only thing really here that we can go on is the paint and how well that was done for something this small. They are all the same scale. That's one thing to note, really. Well, sort of the same scale, honestly. Like, there's slight variances. Like, Bumblebee is not as big as Ultra Magnus, for example, right? But he's probably not as small next to Optimus Prime as he should be, right? So there is some variance, but not a lot. I would say that these are about, again, your typical nano size, I guess, like about 4.5 centimeters, about 1.5 inches, 1.65 something like that. And so we start with Ultra Magnus. I have my Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus here, upgraded with the KO of the Perfect Effect, cab, section, and chest, and head adapter. Plus we have the X2 Toys XT009, I think it is. It's the like leg and foot upgrade along with the blaster in his hand. This is still my Ultra Magnus of choice. You can see how small the little nano guy is next to him. I'll say this, as much as the Combiner Wars one is my Magnus of choice, I like the colors on the little nano guy better. That's not to say they're perfect. Starting from the feet and going up, like the white on the shins and the thighs, that's good. The blue on the legs and the pelvis, that's good. The red chest, the kind of blue chest crest, I guess, is good. The shoulder missiles shouldn't be blue, right? They should be white with red tips. The biceps should also be white. The head is a slightly mushy, I guess, but like in general, I think the shades of red, white, and blue here are the correct shades. So I absolutely dig it for Ultra Magnus. For the back, I mean, there's the back, which again looks accurate, looks correct for Ultra Magnus, right down to that butt flap thing, right? Maybe a little bit of variance with the red, but overall I think it's pretty good. I'm going to give it an 8. And next up we have Hot Rod, and I'm not going to lie, I feel like this is more Optimus Prime's colors than Hot Rod's colors, right? It's a deeper red, though I'll say this, at least the diecast lad has red elbows like he's supposed to. The hands are about the same, the thighs are about the same. The diecast lad has orange knees like he's supposed to. The lower legs being black is what kind of throws me. I don't know if they should necessarily be black, certainly not for Hot Rod. I feel like they should be a little lighter, but it's not bad for what it is. I mean, come on, man. Right? I mean, take a look at him. I mean, everything is kind of where it should be, right down to the flame on his chest and the Autobot symbol. The head is, I'll admit, where the face is not picked out in perfect detail, but again, we're talking about something very, very small. It's all right for what it is. I like the yellow used. It's a nice deep yellow, even on the crest. The back of the guy looks like that. I mean, it makes sense. Yeah, I dig it. Again, I'm going to give it about an 8 for what it is. Next up we have Sunstreaker, and I love the deep rich yellow that was used here. I wish the Earthrise one had used that same deep rich yellow, to be honest with you. The one thing on the diecast lad that I don't like is that they didn't paint the windows in. It's all just a sea of yellow, which I think is a bit of a bummer because they went the extra mile to put the Autobot symbol on the chest. I don't know, I wish they had gone the extra mile again and put on the coloration for like his, you know, like his windshield and the little side windows that should be there, right? Not a deal breaker, but it would have been nice. As it is, he's basically a sea of yellow. The head is okay. The forearms are okay. The shins with the black on it, that's okay. Going up the leg, that's okay. I just wish the chest had a bit more, and honestly, I kind of wish the back had a little bit more. I think that this one's more like a 7. I mean, it's definitely Sunstreaker, but it doesn't have the love into it that I feel like the first two did. Next up we have Arcee, and I'm comparing her here to the Thrilling 30 Arcee, who is still great. Of course, we have the upcoming Studio Series 86 as of this recording. You have the Earthrise if you prefer that. This Arcee is okay. It's probably a more accurate color than the Deluxe, but that's not to say it's perfect. I mean, she's pretty good when we get in slightly closer on her. The pink is where it should be. The white is generally where it should be, though on her pelvis, her like midriff area, we should have some gray highlights there. We should have some gray kind of down by her ankle for highlights, but she does have her red eyes, or sorry, her blue eyes, and she does have her red lips. What I don't get is, why were you able to put that detail on Arcee, but couldn't color in the windows on Sunstreaker? You know, it just seems like, again, a little bit more love and care was put into Arcee, and I'm okay with that. Overall, I'm going to give her, again, about an 8. And next up we have Cliffjumper, and as much as I kind of like the way the color palette laid out for the buzzworthy Bumblebee lad, I still don't feel like the body type or the car is exactly Cliffjumper. I wish that it looked a little bit more, honestly, like the diecast lad. I mean, just look at that lush, rich, metallic red. It's absolutely beautiful. The gray thighs, the black on the waist. His windshield and rear windshield, I guess, are colored in. You'll notice up by just under his head there, we have like that spoiler edge. That's something that's pretty iconic about his torso that's missing on the Earthrise or the Buzzworthy, if you will. The head looks good. The shoulders are black. Too bad the rest of the arm is black. The fists are black, which is good. The only thing here wrong, really, is the forearm should be gray. And I mean, it's a small price to pay. If we turn him around to his back, it's very, very nice and clean back there. You don't really need much detail. It's good the way it is. I'm going to say this guy is a 9. I think this is a really bang-up job, right down to the white Autobot logo on his chest and the paint on his face. Next up we have Ironhide, and I honestly think that the diecast one looks infinitely better. It doesn't look as washed out. It has that beautiful deep metallic red, plus it has the rest of the colors in its right location. There is one oddity about it though. As absolutely positively gorgeous as this looks, with the little white Autobot symbol down below, with the blue chest, with the metallic red, with the silver thighs and pelvis area, with his head being red, with the face being silver, all of it so good. The gray on the shoulders and the hands. And even if you turn it, the back is so clean. Come on. The one thing that's odd to me though is the forearms. I feel like proportionately the scale is way off on the forearms, or the proportions are way off. Like, I feel like the forearms are way too big for him. It's not a deal breaker, but it is something noteworthy about it, to me anyway. Still, the guy is pretty quintessentially Ironhide. Much like I did with Cliffjumper, I gotta give this a 9. Next up we have Sideswipe, and that beautiful, rich, metallic red kind of works to its disadvantage this time around, which is a little bit too bad because it looks so nice. You could probably even tell right here already what it is that's sort of inaccurate, I suppose, about the diecast lad this time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like it. I like the black down on the legs, though his feet should probably be silver or white. I like the white thighs. But then we get, and I even like the head. I think the head is painted really well with the black, the gray, and the blue eyes. But then we get to the red, and the red's a little overdone because of two things. First, the missile up on his shoulder is red. It looks more like Perceptor's microscope scope than it does the missile that he should have up there. And then his entire arm is red. Admittedly, on the outside of his forearm, it's supposed to be red, but the rest of the forearm and the bicep should be white. So it's a little too much red. And at first I saw it and I was like, who is that? And then I read that it was Sideswipe, and I was like, okay, I see now that it's Sideswipe. But I don't know if I would have necessarily just picked up that it was Sideswipe. Maybe I didn't look at it close enough. I'm not really sure. What I do know is that, again, this is an example of one of the characters that didn't have the tender love and care that some of the other offerings did. I'm going to give this paint scheme, it's pretty good, looks beautiful, but I'm going to give it a 7. And yes, indeed, next up we have the Autobot's resident police officer being Prowl. And, like, the diecast guy is okay, but he's definitely missing some paint apps. For example, the door wings on the diecast guy are solid black instead of being a black and white split like they really should be. By the way, this Earthrise lad is heavily customized. I did a lot of paint work on him. Some of it I gotta actually touch up. The torso seems pretty accurate, but the legs I wanted to kind of talk about. I'm okay with mostly white, but I do feel like, and I really wish that the windows on the lower legs were painted, maybe that kind of all-sparky type of blue that was used on the windows of Ironhide and Cliffjumper, for example. So I think that should have been kind of colored in because it's molded there. It would have broken up the sea of white that is the lower legs. And maybe the like toe area section should have had some black on it instead of, again, just being a solid white. The white blaster in his hand, that's pretty accurate, as is the Autobot symbol, as is the red crest on his head and the paint on his face and his eyes. I don't know, I wish that we had a little bit more white on the doors just to break up the sea of black there. And I do wish that we had the windows at least colored in on the lower legs, a bit blue, just to break up the sea of white down there. This is okay, but I saw room here for a couple of extra paint apps that I think really would have helped this guy pop. As it stands, I'm certainly going to give this guy a 7.5. Next, we have our boy Jazz, and from waist up, he's pretty much perfect. From waist down, he definitely leaves some, details to be desired. The blue visor, the silver face, the black that's on him, the red detailing on like his chest hood, all of that fantastic, but on the lower body, from the knees down really is where the issue comes in. He should have had black detailing on the side of his legs, he should have had some of the blue line detailing, and arguably on the shins and the feet we should have had some silver. So I feel like while the pelvis up is great, I feel like the two lower legs from the knees down, they really missed out on a great opportunity to make this guy really kind of pop. But that's not the only one who suffered in the lower leg department. Case in point, Wheeljack. And as fantastic as I think as the diecast lad looks, look at the lower legs of the Earthrise. I mean, you have some red and green line detailing, you have some grill detailing. Not to say that all of that should be there to be animation accurate, but I feel like we should have had at least some of the red to sort of break up, maybe a bit of the green, to break up some of the lower leg detail. That being said, it's still not a bad Wheeljack. And as a matter of fact, what has been done with Wheeljack is pretty good. I think the mold and the body type and the proportions, I think they nailed it, honestly. The placement of the, we'll call it gunmetal gray, quite good. I love the blue going down around his torso to mimic the windows. We have the red and green detailing there. We even have his wings, though I do wish his little wing pieces had more paint on them. His face is painted, his head is painted, and the blue eyes are there, but it's a little gloppy. He's the in-between. He's not as weak as the 7s because I think there's a little more care taken with him. But he's not as good, really, as like the 8s and 9s. So I'm going to give this guy 7.5. And Bumblebee I put next to the KBB Hornets agent. You can see that it's a very robust yellow that's used. And the one big omission, the one big error, if you will, the only error really, is, again, much like with Sunstreaker, we don't have the windows painted in, and we really should to give that torso that extra pop. What's done right here is done exceptionally well, from the Autobot symbol to the face to the molded in detail on his back. You can see that he has his spare tire there. Not much not to love other than the missing paint on the windows on the chest. And then lastly for the Autobots, we have Optimus Prime himself holding his ion blaster. And this is pretty good, but certainly around the pelvis we're missing blue and we're missing yellow. The rest of it, pretty darn great. Gorgeous blue on the legs, silver on the thighs. Again, when we get to the pelvis, in the middle of the pelvis we're missing some blue. The lights kind of on the front of his pelvis we're missing, though they're molded in there. I wish the blue on his chest windows was a little bit cleaner than what it is. We have two white Autobot symbols on both shoulders. That shouldn't be. There should just be one Autobot symbol on his left shoulder, and it's red. The head is painted as good as the head can possibly be painted, as is the ion blaster, which honestly I think is sculpted pretty nice. The back of him quite clean. I dig it. He's not the strongest, but there's definitely some love put here. I'm going to give him about an 8.5. So that's it for the Autobots, and I think the point of their existence is for something like this. While definitely not perfect to scale, because they're probably still a little bit big, they do serve a nice purpose when put with Titans, in this case the Ark. But you know what? I think displayed around Metroplex or Fort Max or Grand Max, I think they would look just as great. And I'm sure as I proceed and do subsequent episodes and seasons of Universal Collision, once I do incorporate some of the bigger bots, there will certainly be scenes where these guys will serve my purpose. They'll be static for sure, but they'll certainly serve the purpose for kind of setting up scale, setting up size, setting up, you know, the way something should look. Nice, easy, practical way, great display piece. But we also have a few Decepticons to kind of even think, well, not quite even things out, because there's a lot more Autobots than there are Decepticons in this set. In fact, there are double the Autobots to Decepticons. Right? 12 Autobots, and there's going to be 6 Decepticons. So let's kind of take a quick look at those too. And let's kick things off with Thundercracker. This, of course, has our little dude next to our Earthrise dude who's holding my custom painted resin cast copy of Reflector from the Centurion pack. Hope that made sense. It's not the actual one. Couldn't get the Centurion pack in my country, so our good buddy Dragonfly was kind enough to give me a resin cast of a lot of this, and I painted it. So that's why he's holding Reflector. I think the coloring, or at least the blue that's used on the diecast lad, is a better blue, but it does lack a lot of detail, man. Love this guy, but where's the black on the feet? Where's the black on the lower shin? Where's the gunmetal gray in the chest, chest intake sections, holes? I don't know what you call it. Where's the red and silver or white lines on the wings? Where's the Decepticon symbol on the wings? So I like what's painted, but like, look how bare the back is. I don't know, man. I think there should have been at least a little bit more wing detail on here. Maybe a little bit of black. I'm going to give this one about a 7.5. Sticking with the Seekers, we have Skywarp next, and I think the diecast lad this time fares a little bit better than the Thundercracker. I mean, first, it looks like he's taking off and there's exhaust under his foot. He has the purple on his shins and on his feet, as he should. The null rays in the arms being all purple is accurate, though the biceps should have a little touch of black on it. We still don't have line detailing on the wings, but we do have the chest intakes done. So he has more on him than Thundercracker had at his 7.5, but there's still room for, you know, some improvement at least. So I'm going to say that Skywarp here he's about an 8.5. He's much closer to being much more accurate. And the last Seeker we have is Starscream. It's actually the exact same mold as Thundercracker, same position and everything. Though this guy does have the feet painted blue. And like, that's about it. Again, no wing detailing. We're missing the kind of gunmetal gray that should be in the whatever you call these, chest intakes, I suppose. No Decepticon symbol on the wings, no line detailing on the wings. I think that's a real bummer if you're asking me. The one thing I do like about it though is that none of these Seekers have the the tail fins on the side of the leg. I detest that. It's not accurate. That's part of the reason why I like the Siege mold better, because the legs are cleaner. Go figure. But do you know what really does make this Starscream pop? The silver, man. The silver looks glorious, although on the back it might be a little bit too much of a sea of silver. I'm going to give this guy, though, a solid 8. Next up, we have Shockwave, and I like this little guy. I wish he had the silver on his elbows like he should, but besides that, the little guy here is pretty darn accurate, man. I got to say, he's quite good. Like, yeah, man, it's pretty close, right down to the goldeny yellow eye being painted in. I mean, I struggle to find kind of anything wrong with this. I think of all of them, this is one of the most successful. I'm going to give it a 9.7, no, a 9.5. 9.5, we'll say. I know it's a sea of purple, but it matches the guy. And I'm sure there's a little bit room for improvement in detail, but man, yeah, 9.5, I think is one of the strongest in there. Almost equally impressive is Soundwave. He's quite good. It's next to my Netflix Soundwave. Before anybody says, oh man, I wish I had that, I'm going to tell you now, the guy does yellow. If you look at the thighs of this guy compared to the forearms, which by the way are the Siege forearms, because I changed them out, you can see like the gray is a different color. I do have one spot on, I think it's the left leg, right at the knee, where it has started to yellow on mine. It hasn't gotten worse, but it sure hasn't gotten any better. It's a shame. It's a serious, serious problem with things from the last couple of years, and it's a real shame that something that was this hard to get is something that is suffering from it. I digress. Our little micro lad here is pretty great. He could have probably some extra detail on the front of his shin. The buttons that are on his waist could be colored silver. On his cassette deck section, while it's gold out around the edge and blue, like in the actual glass section, there's a molded in piece where that little gold highlight that's on the chest should be painted in, or yellow if you prefer. And I don't understand why on the arm that's sticking out it looks like his blaster is on his forearm instead of in his hand. It's really weird. He doesn't have an arm blaster, so that is peculiar, but it's still quite good. If Shockwave is a 9.5, then this guy's a 9.25. Just for interest's sake, here's the back. It's quite clean. And finally, here we have the leader of the Decepticons, Megatron, next to Toy World's Hegemon, who is my stand-in as Megatron. Even to this day, I still think it is the best kind of mainline version of the guy. And I honestly think that this diecast Megatron is one of the best from the entire set. I mean, he has the black fusion cannon. He has the red on his elbows. He has the red eyes. He has the black pelvis. He has the black legs. Silver everywhere else. Though I will note that arguably the front of his legs could be gray. And while I love that they included the Decepticon logo on his chest, I do wish that we had like the button detailing with the red, the yellow, and the blue down on his tummy. I understand why we didn't have the black eyebrows and the little triangles. The head is just too small for that. I get it. Overall though, I mean, I put this up there as one of the best. Right up there with Shockwave. I think that this is about a 9.5 for a Megatron. Again though, much like with the Autobots, I think the intention of these guys for display is, you know, really where they shine for something like this. Yeah, man, now this looks good. I like it. I mean, again, don't get me wrong, I realize that this is Black Zarek and that these Decepticons in particular probably never would appear with him like this. But you get the idea of how you can incorporate them into some of the big Titan base spots. And like, they look alright. I think they look better than like Legends class offerings, which I still think are too big. Arguably, these are probably still slightly too big for what it is that we're trying to accomplish. But, you know, for something that realistically in the real world has a chance of sort of scaling with Titans, these guys are well up there. They're painted generally quite well, whether it's Autobot or Decepticon. Overall, for the entire set of 18, I mean, again, transformation's a 0, articulation's a 0, but the paint is a solid, for the whole set, about an 8, maybe an 8.25 for the whole set, and they do look nice on display. There are some key scenes, for example, that stop motion animators would be able to get easy shots of, you know, with these guys. There, of course, are like miniatures that exist that have some more articulation, and there's some third-party offerings that I don't know if they're out as of this recording, but again, they're going to be fairly well articulated and about this size. I think there's a market for this, certainly for anybody who is a Titan collector. Great set, not for everybody, but certainly helps to enhance any base display piece. And here we are once again, and here they are. So this can't really go scored like we normally do when we do reviews, because transformation 0. There is no transformation, right? Color is, you know, 8, I guess, for what it is. You know, there's certainly some apps missing, but it's fine for something this small. I mean, think it now. We are talking about 4 centimeters. We're talking about 1.65 inches. Like, these are small. They will be great for static poses with Titans, for example. They very much match that scale. It's too bad that they can't actually move. I can accept that they don't transform. It'd be nice if they could actually move. But there will be some key scenes at key times that I'm sure I'll be able to use them that would make life a lot easier than having to try and edit a bunch of pictures down. I'm glad to have it because I see a use for it. It's definitely not going to be for every collector. It's not going to be for everybody. And as you saw, when we compared them to kind of full-grown counterparts, there's certainly differences and stylizations and whatnot, but for what they are and for what this set is and for what it affords me as a collector and an animator, I think it's pretty good. Plus, they display nice, even if you own a Titan or two. These things display great, be it Autobot or Decepticon. Let me know what you think about the little Nano Metalfigs. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon. You can see what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us. And keep in mind, please, that somehow, someway, each and every single solitary day, you do make a difference, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here, inside the videos.